Dungeons are subterranean labyrinths that pop up randomly and are developed in areas with a lot of dark energy. The more dangerous the dungeon, the more powerful the artifact. Therefore, many kingdoms become very interested in dungeons within their area in order to uncover mysterious artifacts and increase their general strength. Dungeons have magic to attract people into them, and now we see very big and beautiful forests where many people can be found. The leader of everything, who appears to be very wealthy, tells his guy to unpack everything and get ready because they will be entering the dungeon. He says that it has already taken us a week to get here. If we take more time here, my two devilish-minded brothers will surely do some scheme against me. This guy's name is Lear. He claims that this is the oldest dungeon in our kingdom and that it is very dangerous and full of evil energy. Lear guides everyone to the largest area of the dungeon, also known as the heart of the dungeon, where all the best artifacts are found and where Statue 8 is located, before stopping them there and warning them to move forward but cautioning them to be careful because whenever stone can fall, everyone is shocked to see his ability to detect dangers. He goes a little further and goes to a wall and places some trap-like object on there, after which he guides everyone and they go there. Lear struggles the most since he lacks considerable fighting power, but their commander gets them ready for battle by forming a formation. Stage 8, the commander tells everyone not to be afraid and instructs them to move forward. The soldiers use the wall shield skill to avoid the lion's fire breath. One soldier reports to their commander that the fire is too strong and asks them to stop. Lear makes a small noise to summon the dungeon keeper. You can only move forward in the dungeon after killing the dungeon keeper monster. Lear will use his talent to shoot the arrow into the lion's jaws at stroke 8. Lear hesitates somewhat but decides to go. He hits the intended target, but as a result, the monster gets highly enraged and begins to attack with roar stats 8. Lear begins to flee since the monster's skin was so tough that no amount of fighting could stand a chance against it. The monster was about to attack the statue when some soldiers began attacking it with their shields, but it managed to survive, giving the commander the chance to attack the monster. The soldiers then launched another attack with their shields, and Gerald attacked and dispatched the monster with all of his might, making everyone very happy. Lear was going to view a huge dungeon item that he had never seen before. When they finally get there and see the artifact, a ring that was emitting green wicked energy, they are startled. Gerald takes the artifact in his hands and invites such Lear to touch it if they wish. He is a little apprehensive because he has never encountered such a potent artifact, but he reasons that since everything will be mine aside from the artifacts discovered in the dungeon, it would not be improper to simply touch the artifact. However, before he does so, Gerald's evil smile can be seen. Yes, as soon as he touches the artifact, he receives a powerful light shock, his skin melts, and he collapses. Gerald says that the artifact has various forms of negative energy, you cannot touch them right away. He realizes that he has been trapped. The commander says that the curse has been broken, and the artifact can now be taken. Gerald says to remove the ring and get ready to escape. However, only then does he notice that the artifact is covered in. The commander orders everyone out of the cave and asks Gerald to flee when Gerald learns that the object is a mythical symbolic item and feels terrible about it. The cave then begins to shake and collapse. Gerald was becoming quite irate since the poor child had botched stage 8 of his whole scheme for nothing. Lear begins to fall into the ditch with his skill display written that Artifact Memento has accepted him as his partner. He swims to the shore and wonders how he is still alive before noticing the devil ring on his finger. However, he is unsure of how the ring got there. The last thing he remembers is that Gerald, that bastard, betrayed him. At this point, Lear wonders what is going on, but then a skeleton head appears from his. Now that the cave has collapsed, we can see that the only troops who made it out alive were Gerald and his commander. Gerald furiously questions his commander as to why he used the teleportation paper, to which the commander replies, "Your Highness," adding that there was no other option available at the moment. Gerald gets extremely angry because he sent troops without alerting his brothers, and now they are all slain. He also feels terrible since he lost a priceless ring relic and his army is destroyed. Gerald reveals to Commander that the artifact was not parasitic but rather an artifact of the symbolic category, explaining to him that most artifacts are of two types and that he had never encountered an artifact of the parasitic category that worked automatically even after the death of its owner. One is a standalone item that is well known worldwide and often used by tools. There is another symbolic artifact, as we saw in the cave. That artifact was coming back. Stats eat Lear after death. It must be a symbolic artifact. The commander says that he also saw Stats 8 Lear being revived, but after this he fell into the ditch due to the collapse of the cave. It is impossible for him to have survived. The second is the artifacts of the parasitic category, which is slightly more powerful than the first one and ends with the death of its owner. Everyone knows about these two. Contrastingly, that malicious skeleton spirit explains to Thatch 8 Lear that he was dead but was brought back to life by a passive skill called Restrained Soul. As a result, his physical stats have decreased because he also used some other skills, or, to put it simply, his physical strength has decreased slightly. However, Thatch 8 Leader does not comprehend anything that the skeleton says, telling him, "Dude, because of you, my power has decreased, idiot." Stat 8 Lear asks the skeleton who he is, and he asks him if there is any skill that he can use right now, and the skeleton replies that he does, but his mana energy has been depleted, so in order to save him, he must recharge his mother, and he was very exhausted from climbing. Suddenly, the skull informs him that he has 12 hours left to live, and upon hearing this, he begins to perspire. He explains that he had said that he had revived him. So how can Lear is horrified to hear this while running and cursing the skull because he didn't tell this before. The skull laughs and says that he is not human, so he is not afraid of dying. That skull says that if you want to stay alive that much, it can give him a lot of power, but he is also given a warning to Adlear that he should never think that he is his master, because Lear will not die as long as Adlear is alive. He will not die, but if his Lear accepts but inquires as to how he might boost the mana. The skull instructs him to use the curse-eating skill or slay a monster in order to absorb a piece of cursed equipment. 8 Lear doesn't understand curse gear, but he learns that he has only 11 hours to kill a monster. He uses monster instincts to find the monster, but he remembers that his stats are low. As a result, he searches for footprints and other clues wherever he goes in order to find the monster. Eventually, he reaches a location running, and a great wolf monster appears. The skull gives him a skill called Air Bullet, which is a very common